guys. Welcome back. I got so many emails and calls about who was that strange man with you on your last program. And that's no strange man. It's my friend Richard Marshall, the famous woo wizard.
So
all right?
This is the only shirt I own.
I think he's telling the truth. I've seen this shirt a lot. Richard and I have been known each other for a very long time because we go to the same art shows and galleries and things. I've always been interested in his work, and I thought that I would get him to share it with you, and he did on a previous episode, Woos 1. This is Woos 2, okay? Richard is back. He's come from the far distant land called Waxhaw.
Waxhaw,
all right?
with the Waxonians.
He's a Waxonian. He's the Wizard of Woos from Waxonia. Okay, and Richard is going to tell you all about the history of woos and how he makes woos and how he makes a very good living making woos, which is the part that fascinates me. So I'm going to shut up, believe it or not, and let Richard start telling you a little bit. Will you show us some of your other pieces here, Richard, so the audience that didn't see last time? You should have been here, guys. All right.
This is one of our containers. It actually does hold things.
Yeah. It's a hollow vessel.
It
is. Show them the inside because you glazed it beautifully. When these guys will get a close up or something.
You can catch the interior of that.
Yeah, good job. Is that and that's a high fire glaze?
It is. It's cone 10, about 2,300 degrees.
That's about as hot as kilns go.
We do have a little problem every now and then. I have to put wax around this. I will glaze the interior and then put a little wax resist here to try to release this lid, because this lid sometimes when you fire that high, the fumes will adhere the top to the piece. So and we have to actually pry it off once it's fired. And so you never, it's scary because you can lose the whole piece.
Yeah, because you don't want to lose the piece. I've heard people say they did some tricks by hitting it and lightly and getting some vibration, boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. And then I've heard water and then a small blowtorch, because the heat and cool thing will cause the glaze to fracture.
What do you do with the water?
You pour water on it, let it soak a little bit, get it wet, cool as you can, and then take the blowtorch and hit it so that the thermal shock of cooling and heating causes that glaze to crackle, and then you can knock it off.
Oh,
tried that before. It doesn't always work, but it's, well, you gave me so many neat stories and tricks last time. I'm trying to pay you back a little bit. I want to thank you. A while ago when we were talking about this on a previous show, out of habit, and I should know better, I've been working as an artist many years as an art teacher, and I asked you, what is this? And you immediately told me it didn't have to be anything. And I thought, what a beautiful artistic thought. It is an object day art. I think, what is the term? Aesthetic. Art for art's sake.
Art, I think, should be interpreted by the individual who sees it, because basically it's an expression of what he's been through in his life, his experiences, and everything else. To have somebody else dictate what a piece of art is, to me, is kind of bogus. I mean, I don't know much about art, so I may be all wrong.
Unless they pay you for it.
Well, it's different.
If they pay you for it, they're right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, a lie. But no, I believe that. I really think that you should interpret it, look at it. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, guess what? It's just not your cup of tea.
But isn't that a good piece of art when each person comes up and they see something different, like reading a novel or seeing a play, and they all took something different away from it? I mean, that would, to me, would be a mark of how good it is. I saw something space age about this. Creature from another planet, and I know that your background with woos is the whimsical woodland creature, but I saw something very space movie thing about it. And then I said, wait a minute, it's practical, it's pragmatic. You can put tea inside or something.
You would put tea in there?
Well, it's the thought. Not drink it, but to keep your tea, because it's glazed.
It is glazed.
So it could be, you could put foodstuffs in it, right?
What else could you put in there?
Something like leaves of tea.
Leaves.
I got it. Incense. Because I knew that's what you were thinking. Yeah, the incense container. I'm a child of the 60s, Okay. We're having too much fun. All right. Richard's been nice enough to share this with you. We'll flash up his website for you later. He has a lot of collectors, I know, because he travels quite a bit. You do 2 dozen shows a year?
Yeah, it changes every year.
Okay. And I know you have a lot of private collectors that buy your work.
We do, but they don't let them out except on weekends.
Yeah, that's true. Don't trust them with credit cards. I know your stuff is in galleries.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it in galleries, Richard. What do they do with it? As long as they pay me for it, they can do whatever they like.
I've had customers come and say, I bought this at a yard sale. And they did. They did. Paid $1. So, excellent. One guy picked one up, and it had been painted with spray paint. They glued it back together, the fingers and things, on one of the smaller characters.
Oh,
and,
no.
And spray painted it red. And he got it for $1. It had to look really bad, too, you know.
Oh, we've seen our stuff on the what the email thing where people put the eBay that they had bought, and now they put it up and they list that it's handmade by North Carolina artists and everything. So it's these things
double the
have
price, probably.
I know they got more for it than I did. These things have a life of their own. Now this time we had too much fun last time, and people said we want Richard to show us how to make some stuff. He spent 30 years learning how to make stuff. Let him share his secrets with us.
Set this back in.
You were nice enough to show us some of the unique tools that you used last time. This was the tool that you used, this mesh women's hose or garlic bulbs came in and so forth. And this is what you made this. And this is how you got the, I think it's like a snake texture. Looks really cool. And the stain makes it show up so good. You use more stains than glazes in your work, which is unusual.
I do. I did. One thing about this piece now, this piece is hollow, but if you'll notice, there's not a hole in it. And so this would blow up in the kiln.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And it would take everything else around it. If you had other work around it, it's going to take it with you. At about 1,000 degrees, you'll hear this. It's like a car door slamming.
I hate that sound.
And you know what it is, but,
I hate
but
that
it's,
sound.
You know, it's over. So you might as well go ahead and fire and keep going.
And everything in the kiln's got little pieces of glazes and the elements. Hate that sound.
So you definitely want to, if you make something like this and it is hollow, and it better be hollow because it's going to blow up if it's not. But there's newspaper in here, but you do want to put a hole in it because that way the gases will escape.
Now, since you've got newspaper inside there, we're talking smoke.
Yes.
So we're talking smoke coming out of it. I know it upsets my neck. You live in a wooded area, right?
I do.
You know, I live in a residential area, and when smoke starts coming out of my garage, they always come over and tell me, you know, your garage is on fire.
We're pretty far out there, you know. But
I've heard that about you, yes. Okay. Now, you're putting some other holes in here, part for design and part for pragmatic reasons. That means
there's that word again.
That means it has a reason for existing.
Thank you.
Aesthetic means
no, that's wrong. Actually.
Aesthetic is art for art's sake. It has no realistic function. Like your vessel here is very aesthetic. It's artistic. You got the glazed nails here. You got a nice little handle. You could put a candle in here. You could also, correct me, I'm talking about your work. I'm
yes,
explaining
you
Richard
have a hard time
to you.
drinking wine and the candle. You know,
yeah, if you have, wait a minute. Now, if you have a lit candle, don't put wine in it?
Yeah, yes.
Are those instructions on the bottom?
Well, no, you know, you can try. You probably could do that.
I have drank things that a candle would make it go on fire before. Okay, this has got glaze on the inside, so you could put liquid in here and then drink it and then microwave dishwasher this thing, right?
Oh, yeah. And a piece like this, what we'll do is we'll pour the glaze in the interior with a pitcher, then we'll pour it out really quick, and then we'll just take the goblet, turn it over, and dip it into a bucket of glaze. That way you get a nice thick cut. Sometimes we'll dip it twice. It depends on the glaze because if you dip it too much, it's going to run, it's going to drip down, it's going to adhere itself to the kill
I'm noticing, serendipitous. There's another word. You like that? I love that word.
I need these definitions.
Okay, serendipitous means a fortunate mistake. My mother is going to call me serendipitous. That's why I know. Anyway, it means capitalizing on a mistake. So I noticed here your glaze has built up at the bottom of this, and it changed colors nicely where it is a light green on top, and then it turns this smoky brown and then black. Now, that was serendipitous. Was that luck, or were you so skilled that you control that?
Actually, there's two glazes on there.
That was my second guess.
The first dip is a dark, it's called Black Magic. And the second one is Vegas Red, and it's only dipped about halfway down.
I just now saw the red, just as you were saying it through here. If I'd have seen that first, I might would have figured out. This is a high fire, too.
It is.
This is smooth. I like this.
Is there anything on the bottom written?
Richard, take your meds. No, it's just the number 4.
Okay, yeah, that's in glaze sampling and stuff, we have to keep really good records. And so that way I'd go back to the notebook and look up number 4 and find out exactly what it was, because by the time it comes out of the kill, I have no idea what was on there.
I can appreciate that. And somebody will buy this and say, I want 4 more for a set, and they'll try to describe it to you, and you have no way of getting this glaze again unless you have records?
Well, yeah, without the records, I'm out of luck. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you could do it with memory, but I couldn't.
I started to say, there's a lot. As another professional, I see a lot of things happening here where, was this thrown or extruded, the top part?
Neither. It's hand-built. Basically, on something like that, what you can do
give me a break. That sucker is perfectly round.
You see a joint in there. But you take a
Wait a minute.
cardboard
There's
tube.
a joint in here?
You was one. Damn it.
Oh, you mean joint like the things came together?
Exactly.
That's semantics. That's meaning a word has more than one meaning. We got to communicate better, Richard. Okay, so
I'm not good at communication.
there is. I'll be danged if I can feel it. This looks wheel thrown to me.
If you want to do this, simple way to do this is a cardboard tube, and basically you wrap your clay. You cut out a nice clean slab and wrap your clay around it, but it won't release from the cardboard tube. So what you do is you take part of the phone book, a little thin piece of paper, wrap it around the tube, then roll your clay. That way your tube slides out.
I use that with my students, and I say it's like putting a sock on your foot and then your shoe in. That way you can get your.
It's just like that.
Just like the same concept.
Just like that.
That is perfectly round.
Sock on a shoe.
This is perfectly round. I can hand build, but dang, that is perfect.
Oh, good, Jeff.
Those meds are working, Richard.
Thank you.
I am
I
telling
can feel
you,
them.
those
I
are
can
good.
feel them.
Now, we were having too much fun, of course, and I never thought I had too much fun, but I promised them, everybody called in last week, Joe, shut up and let Richard show us some more tricks. So I'm going to shut up as much as I can, and you got to show us some tricks.
All right, what we'll do, I'll set him down here.
And this is
one of our characters. This is a woo.
This is a woo.
What we're going to do is we're just going to do one of his hands, but we're going to have, this is a hatching woo. We're going to have a woo hand coming out of an egg. Because I really don't have time to do a whole woo at the moment.
And this is how woos are born.
Yeah, we just take a wire and cut a slab of clay like this, and then we'll wrap it around. You need that armature again.
You need the armature thing again.
This
A lot of people would wonder, and they would, they're going to call and ask me, so I got to ask you. It'll save me emailing me. You email me anyway, but I'll go and ask him the obvious questions. Of all the things on this universe, and all the things in your imagination, which is a scary thought in and of itself, you chose to become a professional woo maker. Okay, I know there's this high school counselor.
I had a choice.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Do artists have a choice, right? Destiny. But high school counselor says, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, and young Richard says, I want to be a woo maker. Duh.
No, it's not. I wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer.
Yeah, I could see Dr. Richard. Yeah,
what was the other thing?
I can see that, yeah.
Brain surgeon?
Brains. I was going to be one like part-time. I didn't want to.
I went to the counselor, and he thought maybe a potter would be better.
Strengths, me too, also. He told me to work with mud and sticks.
Yes.
Stay away from machinery like wheelbarrows.
Can the shovel? Yeah, I said, watch the shovel.
That's a personal excavation device.
Think you can handle a wheelbarrow?
I mean, really, Richard, you have been a woo maker for 20 plus years.
Well, to tell you the truth, it's not real short, but it's not real long. It depends on your luck,
Depends
I
on
guess.
who you're with. Yeah,
This is true. Well, that's how pleasant it may be. Or
pleasant. Because time flies when I'm with you, Richard.
Thank you. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know.
Where was I?
I don't know. What were we talking?
Oh, that's right. But to work for someone else and have them tell you when to jump and how high, you may miss out on a lot of things.
Boy, how
and if you're on your own,
life.
Exactly. And if you're on your own, basically you have more time to really digest things and see exactly what is, or at least what you think it is, which may be totally wrong. It's the way I think anyway. I mean, you may not, you may be way off base.
I read a book once. I remember. Okay, it says conform
or die,
conform, or become an artist. All right, and we chose the latter.
Is that a good move?
The jury's still out. It was blank, conform, or become an artist. I don't remember what blank was. I think it may be a woo maker, maybe. I don't know.
That blank's still there.
Now you had an armature.
Now we're going to make this is the basic egg here. Put a hole in it. We're going to make these are fingers, actually.
Oh, so you're having this is a woo egg. Woos come from eggs. Everybody knows that.
This is true.
Right. And a woo, of course, Richard was telling you, it's a woodland creature that originally was the plains of Australia.
It grows no taller than the grass it runs through.
Okay, and that when you look out into your yard or some other place that has tall grass and you see a ripple in the grass, it could well be a woo running down out of sight, because very few people can see woos, and you're one of the few Caucasians to have actually captured one that you could use for a case study.
And when you do catch one, they do turn to stone, as this case we have here.
Wow. So they don't do well in captivity.
And they bring good fortune to the household.
They don't do well in captivity, just like artists.
They don't. In fact, matter of fact, they don't do well at all in captivity. They love cheap wine and beer, and they can open a refrigerator.
I could hang with them.
You have someone to blame it on.
That's what, so you'll have like a woo as a family pet or something. I had a cousin who used to blame everything on the dog. Every time he had beans, he would blame the dog for various things. So I guess if you have a woo, you could blame the woo for things missing.
Why not? Hey.
But they got to be related to like dwarfs, gnomes, elves, fairies.
They do hoard keys, socks.
Hoard keys?
Hoard keys.
Oh, they hoard keys.
Hoard keys.
Oh, okay. There's so much to learn about woos. You know, I thought I knew everything about woos, and that's one of the reasons that you're here is to educate us. I see you in the role as professor now.
Right hand.
Okay, this
right hand.
This is the right hand. That would be.
I have made it.
This
before.
is my other right hand.
I've been thinking. Well, I don't do that often, but I have made, woos before with 2 left hands, 2 right hands. I didn't realize it until I was finished, and you realize you were somewhere else, a million miles away, because the clay is really good therapy.
The gift of dyslexia. I do that all the time when I did a witch and stuff earlier because of Halloween coming up, and I would end up making 2 right hands. I just thought that was me.
It is you, Jeff.
Oh, okay, it was me. All right, I knew somebody did it. Okay. Now, so do they have hands like humans? Or similar?
They're
same number of fingers? How many fingers?
They're a little clumsier.
Yeah.
They do have 5 fingers. Thumb.
Okay. I know. Who was it? Mickey Mouse only has what, 3?
Seriously?
I think Mickey Mouse only has 3. And I was trying to think some of the other creatures, famous cartoon characters that had less than the original 5. Now you've got Knuckles in here also.
That's interesting, yeah.
Well, I read a book. Yeah.
1?
Well, it was green. I remember that.
Pictures mostly?
Yeah, but they were all colored in. You got 2 joints on the finger?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I used to put 3, but they really don't need it.
Okay.
They're really good with this way.
And I noticed you glaze. The eyes are glazed. The horns up here are. And you would tell us last time you got the idea for the hair from your son.
I did. Justin went through that phase when he would spike his hair and it would come in a different color. Well, it usually matched his dirt bike. It was usually green.
I kid you not, I'm not laughing because I had a student in my adult classes that got a new hair color which defies description, and I was telling her how pretty it was. She came to class the next week and had her car painted the same color as her hair. So I'm going, okay, the term I use for that is right-brainer. So,
what did you teach?
I teach at my studio in Matthews. You talk about, the party you told about when you switched from jewelry maker to being a potter because they were having so much fun? Mm-hmm. We do this, a lot of people do this with, I get doctors, lawyers, engineers, and they want to have the fun like you're having right now.
The clay's good therapy, it is.
It is, I absolutely. Jenny was on our show a couple of weeks ago, Hargrove over at Matthews, Carolina Clay Connection. Mm-hmm. And Jenny has t-shirts that says, become a potter and throw your life away. Because pottery, you throw pots. It's Jenny's idea of humor. Okay.
Jenny's nice.
She is a nice lady. We enjoyed working with her. She's a good potter, too. Now, do you use the wheel in any of the stuff that you're doing?
I do throw some large vases, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I saw some of yours at the Lazy Day show in Cary. You had it up on your shoulder like some kind of Egyptian guy going down the street. This thing was as big as a bongo drum, and it had crackled glaze on it.
It was raku piece.
Raku piece, which is very tricky. We were talking about it earlier. Raku is when you take the piece out of the kiln, glowing orange hot, around 2,000 degrees.
Yes.
And then you transport it and put it in a metal vessel full of sawdust and or wood leaves or something. Is that how you do it?
That's how it can be done that way.
Yeah.
On a large pot like that, we've got a larger kiln, and basically we just remove the kiln from the piece, leave it on the firing pad. And then we'll.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting mental images there because I've got a 9 cubic foot kiln. You've got some kind of humongous thing.
We've got a kiln. It's got about a 14-foot arm on it and a counterbalance, and so I can stand away from the kiln and remove the kiln from the pot.
Lift the whole kiln up.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the fire pad's still there and everything's just glowing.
Mm-hmm. And so it's gas fired. So you've got the flame torch shooting in on it. Mm-hmm. And so you've got cones or something, so you know when it's the right heat.
You can usually judge by color, but we use a pyrometer, which tells you the temperature in the kiln. You should use a cone also.
Back
I just
up
don't.
so you know.
Yeah.
So you're looking at what temperature to take it out of the kiln?
I think around 18. My pyrometer doesn't really work that well.
You must have a barometer, and mine doesn't work. Okay.
A lot of potters do it by color.
Take notes so y'all can learn so much from a professional.
They'll use it by color too. You can look, if your glaze is melted, then you're cool. I mean, you're not cool, but it's hot. It's ready if your glaze is shiny.
I'm just seeing this. There used to be a joke about the Polish mine detector, Second World War. They would go out there and they would put their fingers in their ears and they would begin to tap with their toes to find the mines. It sounds like you're doing something like that. Anyway,
it's close.
You get your kiln up to around 2,000 degrees. You remove the entire casing from around your big vase. It's like half the size of a 6-year-old child. And now you have this glowing orange pot in the middle of your garage or barn, wherever you're working, studio.
Oh, it's in the woods, really.
In the woods? You open air woods?
This kill's over in the woods.
You mean not even a building around it?
No.
Way cool. Okay, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of safe. It's all right. We've never set the woods on fire.
Okay, we're good. Sort of safe.
No, it is.
My
fine.
barometer doesn't work. I removed the sort of safe kiln, and I've got a glowing orange pot. Good hand. Good hand.
Texture.
And texture on there. Now you got a glowing orange. What do you do now? I mean, you can't touch it.
Then we throw combustibles on it. You can spray it with water too, so you get better crackle. You can mist it a little bit.
That's that thermo shock.
Because we want the cracks. These aren't significant cracks that hurt the piece. They just look really nice.
So you're not talking a garden hose or just a mister?
Just a mister.
Okay.
I'm usually going for a target.
A little bit, not too much.
And then we just throw combustibles on it, which out there would be. I found wisteria leaves to do the best. This time of year, all the wisteria leaves fall, so I'll put them in buckets. I get better color with the wisteria leaves.
Okay, so you're just throwing leaves on this glowing orange pot, and it's flame is shooting.
My son will usually come help me because it's pretty wild, and it doesn't take 2 people, but it helps a lot when he's there. So he'll come out and throw the combustibles on for me, and I'll be on the other end holding another fulcrum, which rod with a reduction chamber, which is a big steel barrel to cut off all the oxygen. Because then once it bursts into flames, we let it go for a second, then we bring this other chamber over and drop it over the pot, over the whole pot.
This sounds pretty high-tech.
And smother it. And that way, and then we put sand around it to cut the oxygen off because there's so much heat in there and gases that it starts blowing it out the edges. You see smoke come flying out.
This does not sound like the place for an amateur. I mean, your timing and glazing and chemicals and barometers that don't work and a sun that does. And
it's kind of scary in my hands, yeah.
I started to say, but when you get through, you'd have an object d'art worth hundreds of dollars.
Or nothing at all.
Or nothing at all, yeah. We work for the same master. Okay, now this guy is in the egg, and he has this humongous hand coming out, which, as you can see, looks like the hand on the other woo over here. So we have caught the actual moment of birth.
Yes, we have. And it's not easy. But this hand's a little rough. It's just I usually do this sitting down, so I use my leg for a table. Working in the studio all day, standing up is rough on you, so it's best to keep 1 foot up or use a stool, and I usually use a stool.
When I get to meet the other artists at shows and we're talking shop and sharing, we were just having fun sharing our different tools and things. They are a very unique individuals. They don't follow any sort of pattern and rules, and they all develop their own style. Of all the hundreds and thousands of artists I know working with them professionally, I don't know anybody else making woos. And that was the joke I made earlier. You tell your high school counselor I'm going to be a woo maker. You're probably the only woo maker that I know up close and personal.
The reason for that, I was really trying to get away from competition when I got into the clay because I figured, I told you, I'm trying to evolve here a little bit as a person. And so rather than compete with everybody and be in the business world again, we thought we'd just do something. There's so many really good functional potters in North Carolina. Why compete with everybody? So I thought I'd come up with something different, except that I'm afraid I've stretched it a bit.
I'm totally listening to this.
I don't quite have the market.
I'm trying to think, and I can't think and talk at the same time, as you probably noticed. I appreciate
I did notice that.
Yeah, thank you for not saying anything. I appreciate the logic behind that. I didn't want to be just another pot maker, in line with all the other pot makers.
There's great potters in North Carolina.
Well, when I look at the work it shows, I'm going, if I work the rest of my life, I'm not going to catch up to them. So I'm going to go in a different direction. And you did choose a path less traveled. I will give you that, Richard. And strange enough, though, you've been doing this a long time, so you're making a go of it.
You would think. Now, a lot of potters are kind of the same way we are. You're sort of self-sufficient. We built our own house. We lived in a tree house for a while before we built a house.
I didn't know about this.
Mm-hmm. We had a nice tree house.
Well, you live in Waxhaw, which is kind of an artist community anyway, isn't it?
There's quite a few artists out there.
And I live in
In fact,
Matthews.
there's an art show coming up this month in Waxhaw. There is. They're going to start a new one.
I was in one there. It was out by the tracks one time.
But there's going to be a new one that's going to be more oriented towards art. I think they're going to have
Fine art?
demonstrations. Yes, they're going to have demonstrations of glass, sandblasting,
I'm going to get a lot of
pottery.
calls on this, so go ahead and tell me. Okay, in Waxhaw this month, as in October?
It is this month. Yeah. I'm not sure what week I'm going to be out of town. They call me to,
Okay, you're a local famous artist in Waxhaw. You just told me about the show in Waxhaw, and then you just told me you're not going to be there. Okay, makes sense. All right.
You can call the town hall.
You're just a fonts of information.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, font.
All
That's
right. Here we go. Wait a minute.
another
Just a
big
little more.
word.
No,
Hey,
but
your
seriously, they are, though. It's
your
gonna be
wife's a
nice.
school teacher, right?
One of us has to make a living.
My wife's a school teacher too.
Really? Bless her heart.
All of these
That's
trade
not easy.
secrets.
That's not
Do you want to be
easy.
a potter? Marry somebody with a government job. Okay, here we go. You're learning all these things in Claywright Workshop. You're using one of my favorite tools here.
Yeah, I love the back of the pen.
That
It's
is a
excellent.
great. When Jenny was here, I always make sure that I use one of the pens that she gives me when I go in there, because I can't afford to buy pens.
Yeah, I understand.
And I have a stack of these. We're using a lot of the same tools. This is a chopstick, right?
It is, and I can, I will puncture it pretty well with this, because that way I don't have to worry about not having a hole in it, not having the gas escape and everything, so she won't blow up. I blew up quite a few things in the old days.
Now, I noticed that this has stain, and when stain blows, at least it doesn't stick to the side of the kiln or another project. But when something with glaze on it blows, and it goes over, it sticks and it ruins everything in the kiln. So it's.
And glaze looks very much like kill wash, which is what we put on our shelves, so that glaze doesn't stick to them. And I know one potter who has helpers, and they got the glaze and the kill wash mixed up. They glazed all the shelves. Lost everything in the kiln.
That's not funny, because everything glaze.
That was funny. Yes,
when
yes,
it gets
it was.
like you laughing. Glaze is liquid glass. So when it's inside the kiln, it goes on powder and water, and it's just a water mixture. But when it gets up to the right temperature, it fluxes. There's another big word for you.
That was a big word.
I love that word, flux. It fluxes, and it turns
gonna ask you
into
what that
glass.
means.
And if you were to put glaze on your kiln shelf, you have just welded it to your kiln shelf with glass. There goes your kiln shelf. You chisel. I've done it too while I'm laughing. I've made
Have you?
that. Yeah. Well, you see your glaze, it was dripping down here. If you put the glaze on too thick, get too hot, it'll run all the way off and run onto your kiln shelf, and you've just welded this sucker to your kiln
Yes, it
shelf.
will.
Goodbye kiln shelf. Goodbye project.
I know one potter who lost his work like that, and he sold the shelf and all. It was a great piece of art.
Oh,
Just held it
I
up
love that.
sideways,
I love
all the work
that.
sticking off this
I'm
way.
gonna write that down. Okay. You sell your mistakes.
What mistake? He meant to do that.
Oh,
Exactly.
I don't
Go.
make mistakes. I make art. Richard Marshall, you heard it here. Okay. Well,
Oh, man.
I got in so much trouble the last time you were here. You're having too much fun. That's a redneck song, I think. I'm having too much fun. It has been great, Richard. I'm laughing too much. It has been great working with you, and I sincerely do appreciate you sharing some of your tricks and techniques. I love the way that you put the cloth around there to get the diamond pattern. I love the use of the simple tools. Like I use these because they're free when I get Chinese food.
Tools, you can use anything. These are all handmade. Use pencils.
Okay, they're telling us that we're out of time. We can't have any more fun. We've hit our quota of fun for this month. I want to ask you guys to tune in again. I'm going to run Richard's numbers here on the tape, so if you want to call him and ask him more questions, be sure and do it. We'll see you next time, same place. And we won't have Richard with us, so we'll try to think of something else fun to do. Any questions, give us a call. Goodbye.